Well, let's go ahead and get into it right now. We've already started with our ZVP on Antigua Shipyard. So this is the Season 3 version. I'm going to say yes. This is the Season 3 version, and you can look at the middle of the map. It's very, very different than what you've normally seen. And I've actually talked to pro players about this, and I've had a lot of data to actually look into this. Basically, the reason why this change was implemented was that center control is really, really important. And PVZ and TVZ, it was getting a little bit easier for Protoss and Terrans at that end game. It was to the point, I think the best example was Lenok versus Morrow, where Lenok was really far ahead, and Morrow just played to end game. He turtled the whole time and was able to just absolutely crush his opponent with mass nukes and you know, little tiny drops here and there while controlling center. And what he basically did was said, okay, I'm going to take this beautiful position in the center of the map and just turtle, and I have a full, you know, economy, 8 mineral patches, 2 gases to actually work off of. So he gets that kind of have his cake and eat it at the same time, just because he gets an awesome position and he gets an expansion. So he's good for another, what is that, like 7-8 minutes, which is awesome, right? And we kind of want to make it so that, okay, you're going to be punished. You take great position, but you don't get like the best expansion at the same time. That way it makes a little bit more balanced positions, just because you have to go and start expanding to more adventurous places. You know, you have to get that top left or bottom right expansion in order to actually stay up in this game. It leads for, I think, a lot more entertaining games, just because obviously there's a lot of harassment that go into that, a lot of counter harassing, a lot of positioning of your units and staying mobile this entire time.
You know, that's actually great insight, man. I never thought about it that way, and now that you say, I'm going to be quoting you for a while, so that's actually absolutely true, because center position and control, especially in PvZ, where force field and position can make the entire difference or outcome of the battle completely different. Yeah. And, you know, I really respect that, and we do see that Killer immediately taking this expansion at what would be his third base, just because he recognized that Todd was so busy trying to block that natural expansion. So, again, a game similar to the last game, except this time Killer does end up getting expansion just slightly earlier, so that definitely makes Killer feel a little bit more comfortable than he started off last game.
You know, remember, last game we had a little bit of a composition problem. I'm interested to see if Todd does the same thing. I'm interested to see if Killer goes about his unit composition a little bit differently. Of course, he has a little bit of intelligence of what Todd actually likes to do. Of course, Todd has an extra game here. This is a best of 3. He has the chance to actually do some sort of all and be safe with it. A lot of times we do see cheeses happen most commonly on game number 2, and that's normally from the winner as well. So we'll see if Todd actually goes in and decides to do anything about that. Because it's definitely a possibility. We can see that Killer is going to come up here and just take a look around with his Zerglings. This is a really, really important thing to do. Make sure your opponent is playing honest, particularly Protoss, making 2 cannons on Antigua Shipyard if they're doing something like this.
Yeah, and, you know, taking small things to account, building placement, and you can see, you know, how many probes he's already transferred, so you can just get a good sense of what your opponent is doing, and those kind of small details is what's really gonna let Killer plan how he chooses to transition. Now he's going for that very quick hatchery again, just like we're pointing out, around the 4-minute mark. It's already halfway completed, so Killer's economy will be thriving at the 10, 11, 12-minute mark, just like last game, but hopefully this time he can establish a better map position with his army, and just like you said, composition. And we do see that Todd is getting a Zealot out here very fast. He is going for 2 gases as well, so he's accumulating quite a bit, and looks like he's opening up very similar to how he did in game number 1 here at Gretorp.
Yes. No +1 just yet. Oh, there it is, just as I say it, so it's jinxing me. Another thing I do want to mention is that Killer hasn't been known to actually have the most phenomenal creep spread. I know ZVP, it's kind of less important just because observers absolutely dismantle that, but normally you do get that creep spread up ASAP in order to defend against those 2 base all-ins. We didn't see that last game necessarily, but I'm interested to see if he does it this game around, and I'm also interested to see if Todd actually takes advantage of that. He knows his opponent doesn't have the best creep spread, especially when he was pushing out with the Colossus at the end game, and the creep spread wasn't even over on his side of the map. Does he actually utilize that fact? Does he do something like a 2-base all-in? Because I think that would be very strong against, you know, that sort of style that Killer has.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Killer's been shown that he's willing to drone very heavily. He droned up to 70 last time and just left his economy alone for a long time. He had that huge advantage. And Todd, I'm looking for him to make a better harassment play this game. And looks like he's already setting up pawns in the south, but looks like Killer's scouts have immediately discovered it. And Todd definitely is not happy about that. But will Killer find the second pylon? And Todd only needs one pylon really to last. He actually lets that one finish. And he's probably going to follow it with just some light harassment. But again, very similar opening to the first game. 4 gates, a quick Twilight Council, and no doubt going to have a robotics and 2 more gateways to follow as robotics actually just started.
Now, one small little note, he does start these 2 assimilators a little bit later this game, around just about 30 seconds, I believe, 30 seconds to 45 seconds, so things will be a little bit later. That means, what is he doing with all those minerals right now? It looks like he's playing the same exact way, so I think he just changed up his build ever so slightly. Might put a couple of chrono boosts into the mineral line rather than going something else. Looks like one Zealot was able to get in there. Now, that Zealot's kind of important, Frodan, because it's just checking the drone count and seeing where his opponent is at, what he's capable of. He sees so many drones there, and he knows, okay, I'm not really worried about mass units at this point.
Yeah, that's a very good observation. And the most important thing is that because he's seen such high drone saturation, he's saying, well, I want to force him to stop making drones at one point because he hasn't taken gases yet. So, you know, Killer's a little bit off of optimal saturation at this point, coming around 68 drones right now. And Todd's going to start working on these rocks very wisely, but Killer discovers that pylon, and just like that, Todd is forced to back away because he can't reinforce, and he's actually supply blocked. Actually, both players are supply blocked right now, but just like we were saying, Todd needs to plan a little bit better than that. So.
Yeah, Todd looks to be playing the same exact way he did last time. As you were saying before, we do have Lethal Reconstitution +1 being upgraded right now for the Zerg player. Now, an Overlord's going to get in here, see everything that's going on. How does he actually react differently? That's the main thing. Last time we saw a really fast Hive. Of course, it didn't do too well. You know, Killer might be a little bit more, you know, careful about this game, but I'm really interested to see how he actually learned from last game and goes on with this particular one.
Yeah, and looks like we do see a couple roaches here. Actually, all the roaches there, so nice little free donation there from Killer. Now, Todd, actually, he's going to get some more Zerglings as well. I think there was a little bit of a misrally. Those Zerglings want to avenge those roaches, but was unsuccessful. We do see Todd actually making a Warp Prism. Now, this is actually a really cool option just because I feel Warp Prism play still is underutilized in almost every Protoss matchup, but they're starting to become more popular, and I want to see what Todd can really do. And of course, he's transitioned to robotics base, so very standard follow-up. But Todd, this time, I like the routes he's taking. Rather than try to invest, you know, 500 minerals in a Zealot and a Pylon here, I feel like that he's trying to keep his opponent contained with Warp Prisms right now.
Oh no, okay. Wow, I'm sorry. I saw 2 infestation pits going down for Killer, but he did cancel that other one. And as you said, that Warp Prism Harass is going to come out here, and it's actually going to bump into this 5th base in the mid left-hand corner. I do want to mention that the mid right-hand is actually starting up with a hatchery over here, so Killer is expanding pretty aggressively at this point. But we'll see. What does he do with these 4 sentries and the potential for a ton of units to actually be produced? Of course, being warped in, blocking off the ramp, and doing a lot of annoying stuff.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to try to use force fields to trap him, but Killer has roaches there, and Todd does not want to lose these sentries for free. He actually force fields, indicating that he wants to commit to some kind of damage here. Going to try if he can do some drop play, but oh man, he loses 3 sentries, and his Warp Prism actually is taking some damage as well. Now, Todd cannot be happy about that. His harass was definitely not good, but consolation prize is he might be able to pick off this expansion, as I don't think Killer is intending to defend it. Instead, his roaches there are just going to end up trying to kite as much as possible, because right now, again, Killer double expanded, which is a smart play on a map that's so far apart, and Killer will be able to at least secure 1 expansion. But for now, actually, Killer seems to have pushed back Todd. If Todd really wanted to kill that base, he could have, but instead wisely pulls back his units just because he doesn't want to overextend his units like those sentries in the Warp Prism.
Again, we see the creep spread is definitely hurting Killer quite a bit. I mean, connecting these bases is probably instrumental in defending against all this little tiny harass. I love what Todd is doing, just here and there, poking in and out, and able to play pretty safe. Now we do see that Roaches and Zerglings are on his opponent's side. I'm not sure what they're doing just yet. Oh, they're going to cut off these Stalkers over here. This is a nice little prize for Killer. Killer's gonna net 2 Stalkers so far.
Yeah, just a nice little consolation prize. And, you know, those kind of things just help you regain a little bit of map control, because if those Stalkers were in different places, just small units gives you a little bit of the edge, and that's what at this point both players are grasping for. Now we do see that Killer, despite the fact that, just like you said, Gretorp does not have the best creep spread, he at least has, you know, eyes in a lot of places to make sure that he doesn't get caught out of position. The only thing right now is that Todd is just trying to sit back and make his Colossi similar to the previous game, but Killer sees almost everything with his changelings as he's getting some good intel right now.
Yeah, I do want to mention that Killer's macro is getting crazy. He's up in the 2,000s. He actually hit the 3,000s over there earlier. So I'm not sure what he's doing with all these minerals. Of course, if I were playing, I would just throw down a crap load of hatcheries and just start producing off them ASAP. But of course, I'm not sure. A little bit of a misstep right there, but a Greater Spire is yet again going down, and we might be seeing continued, you know, early Broodlords, 17-minute Broodlords somewhere around there, and that's pretty fast. It's not super fast. I've seen 13-minute Broodlords, but still, it is pretty fast. Will it be ready for this army composition? It's already pushing out. Todd is looking so strong yet again with this +3 timing that's about to hit in just 20 seconds.
Yeah, he has to make sure not to let Todd engage. For example, this high ground is a very bad spot to engage, just because Todd can blink backwards, set up a stronger concave and force field. So right now, Killer has to make sure to engage on his spot. I like the fact they put up a wall of spines just to make sure to have some added DPS and utilize some of those minerals we were talking about. But Killer's not in the best spot, man. He's trying to, you know, get up to max, but he doesn't even have the pool really to remax, and Killer's in a tight spot. He's gonna have to get a very strong position, land some absolutely money fungals, make sure to prevent Todd from being able to push in here, because Todd, he is not gonna relent in his aggression. He is right now going for the strong timing attack with +3, and this is the same exact push that won the first game, Gretorp, but is it gonna be enough to win him game number 2 here?
It's gonna be very difficult. He actually evacuates every single one of his drones. He's gonna give up this 3rd base. He has no choice. Spine Crawler's going to go down. Nice force fields actually go up, blocking everything, but there are those money Broodlords. This time, not just 3. Frodan, there's going to be 9 out here. That's going to be much stronger than before. Unfortunately for him, he doesn't really have upgrades on his area. You can see there's 0-0, so they will just shred apart if Stalkers are able to get under there and just start smashing all of them, but that's going to be the question. Can he actually get there? Can the Stalkers blink up and just absolutely go to town on those Broodlords? I'm not sure. It's going to come down to, a lot of times, as we say, positioning and micro in this late game stage.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's gonna basically be a very intricate dance. I like the fact that Killer's trying to target the pylon, but oh man, he lost a lot of his roaches there, just sacrificing for not even killing the pylon. The Broodlords are going forward. Killer has to make sure to protect them, and it looks like Todd retreating to the high ground. Again, that is a money spot for Protoss. If you could engage on there, the Broodlords have to make sure not to overextend either. The Infestors are actually going in first here, and we might have the huge engagement. Todd does get bungled, but he's blinking forward here, Gretorp, and it looks like the battle is commencing. Lots of damage. Infested Terrans being thrown out, but the Colossi are actually completely protected. There's no way for Killer to actually be able to get to them, and all of a sudden, Todd, his number of Stalker count is still staying very high, blinking forward very nicely. There are a lot of Infestor energy still left, though, and the Colossi still doing fantastic damage to all the ground units. Todd, though, losing a lot of Stalkers to great place Fungals and Infested Terrans, and after a huge contested fight, we do see that both players do end up backing off for a little bit. How do you think that battle actually fared out for both players here, Gretorp?
It's actually hard to say. I mean, obviously, at the end of it, Killer does win out from there, but he did lose a lot of units. At the same time, Todd has been able to retain his Colossus, which gives him a lot of power in the later fights. He doesn't have to remake all those Colossus, which actually gives him the ability to concentrate all that gas towards the Stalkers. Overall, I do think Killer does win out from that fight, though, just because he's retained his Infestors. He still has, looks like 5 out of the 9 Broodlords that he did. Well, he didn't lose, so that does benefit him quite a bit. But it's going to be a big contest on how Todd actually kills those mid-right and the mid-left expansions. That's going to be the hardest thing for him to do. That's his plan right now. How do I deny those expansions and even up, or at least be ahead even? Because Killer just now takes back his natural third.
Yeah, you know, Todd actually managed to snipe that bottom right expansion. Didn't have that many drones, or it didn't even have a queen rather, but you know, a small little win there for Todd also to just turn it into his favor. He is going to start working on these destructible debris though, and he knows the expansion is there. If he can continue to deny bases, he's going to be in a very strong position. We do see Killer actually is on the opposite side, so he's not going to be able to defend. But he knows where the Protoss army is, and he's moving towards the center, so he's going to try to see if he can maybe set up for a flank or at least get a strong position before the next huge engagement here.
This is great, man. I like right now where Killer is actually positioning. He's in the middle of the map, so he can cut off anything, but he does need to get that maxed army. 2-2 is being, or 3-3 is being researched. 2-2 is up, and we might have the second main engagement over here. Both these players are not maxed. I'm sure the Protoss is feeling a little bit queasy at this point. He doesn't want to actually engage right here just because he has the potential of losing everything. You know, obviously it's hard to reinforce this. And here we go. It's actually going to start right now. The Roaches are going to be moving up. They're going to get the brunt of the cluster. They should get the brunt of the cluster fire. There's the... Ooh, a little bit of lag, but big blink up. And he's going to be able to actually target down all these Broodlords. That's so important. Thundergrowths are going to go down. The Infested Terrans are going to pop out here, but there's just too much Protoss, and he was able to be flanked. A very nice engagement for Todd, and he's going to take this battle.
Oh man, those Broodlords being in front was definitely not what you wanted to do at all. They are your heavy artillery units. Definitely needs to stay more towards the back. And you know, you send them in after you can have things to make sure to soak up all the DPS. And Todd got a little bit lucky there, but you know, he also lost a lot of units as well. And Killer is already on the re-maxing path. He's making a lot of roaches, a lot of corruptors. And of course, the whole idea is he engaged before 3-3 was finished. So his army's units will be stronger if he plays a little bit more defensive. But right now he wants to do things like deny expansions because he knows it's a 24-minute mark. Protoss must be starting to run dry on resources here, Gretorp.
Oh yeah, they have to be. I mean, the natural, we can look at that. That's just about mining out. There's only 6 mineral patches left to it, as opposed to 8 where they start. The third still has a little bit of life. We can see the units lost tab. They're just about equal. If anything, the Protoss is a little bit ahead. Oh my god, this is going to help them down so much, though. Picking off a ton of infestors over here. Nice blink up. And now the Roaches are left alone. That might have been the critical move that actually wins Todd this game. I think losing all those infestors were probably one of the worst things that you could have had happen. Killer in a really tough position.
That stings, Gretorp. I mean, that was 4 or 5 infestors there for free. Todd did not really have to do anything. He just managed to catch him out of position. And now, all of a sudden, because of that, Todd should be able to take out this base here. But Killer really wants to defend it, and he's actually sending a lot of his army there, really intent on doing it. Todd does pull back there. We're seeing it with his observer. Wants to make sure not to get caught out of position like he potentially could have last time. Nice little catch there by Killer to make sure that the observer is fungled. And the burrowed roach there at what would be the center gold expansion, but is now a reduced expansion, was dealt with. So looks like right now Todd, he's defensive, man. He really wants to make sure he can get this center expansion up. Killer during this whole time still trying to max off his units and trying to recover from those lost infestors, but right now a little bit of a defensive play as both players are looking for mistakes, opportunities that each other are creating. But in fact, Todd getting a little bit vicious here. He's blinking forward. Is that the right move, Gretorp?
It's going to be really tough. It looks like he just has enough units to overpower his opponent, though. Again, another blink up, and the Broodlords are actually going to go down. Looks like 2 Broodlords will die from that. That's a very, very critical loss for Killer. And Killer at this point, I think he needs some Corruptors, just straight up Corruptors to deal with those Colossus, because 3 Colossus are actually doing a lot more damage. You want to get rid of them to empower your Roaches. That's the big thing. You want your Roaches to be a lot more relevant in these team fights, or these big fights rather. But right now, it's getting really difficult for D-Killer to do that. He's not doing that at all. He's just sticking on this Broodlord count, and I think that's going to be the bane of his existence right now, because those Colossus are just way too strong.
64 is how many kills one Colossus has. That's just a testament to how long Todd's been able to really hold his Colossi. And just like you said, he's able to invest his gas in other things. You can see that he's getting Archons, and he's been replenishing a whole plethora of Stalkers. Now, looks like Killer's been expecting Todd to be going towards this expansion on the left. His Infestors are out in front, does take a lot of damage, and these Colossi, again, protected extremely well as the Stalkers are completely surrounding the rest of the Zerg units. Killer looks like he is getting sandwiched here, and if he loses this army, that might actually be it, because that takes a long time for those Blues to finish. 3 more Blues are about to finish for Killer, but is that going to be enough? I don't think so. Todd's going to take out this expansion, and all of a sudden, Todd with a very strong advantage here as Killer is forced to retreat.
We're going to be seeing GG any time now. The Broodlords are just being cleaned up right now. The Colossus, again, let's go ahead and count it. 78, 54, and 24. That is a crazy amount. I think that's 156 kills right there.
Yeah.
Freaking insane how efficient these 3 Colossus have been from the entire game. Jesus Christ, man, that is just sickening to see. Thankfully for D-Killer, he does have this third over here that actually helps him out a little bit later on for actually dying. But the bottom right hand expansion is being harassed by this one single Zealot. It might actually kill this one hatchery if obviously if D-Killer doesn't spot that on time, but he's rallying some Zerglings all the way over. Still, I mean, this force is just looking way too good. There's another blink up, killing the Broodlords, and that's going to be it, man. I mean, he has no power in this army. GG gets called, and D-Killer will fall to the score of 0-2.
Yeah, so it looks like Todd does take a very strong 2-game series here. And, I got to give props to Todd, man. He was, really taking strong positions, prioritize his Colossi, because I've seen so many Protoss players throw away their expensive T3 units, and he treated them, man, with like the highest royalty, man. He like gave them the massage treatment, the special spa packages, made sure that they were very comfortable during the fights, and absolutely was in their comfort zone during the entire engagement.
Dude, Todd balled out. That's
yeah.
I can't even say it any other way. He played the matchup just completely standard and outplayed his opponent in every single engagement. That's honestly how I feel. There's one engagement, which was the first one, where it did sort of go D-Killer's way, but as I said before, having those Colossus out and having him keep them is probably one of the critical faults of D-Killer's play. D-Killer needed Corruptors out just to remove them and force his opponent to remake them. Now 200 gas, just to let you know a little bit of how it actually affects you. You only mine 240 gas for every base that you get. So of course you get 480 a minute if you're on 2 base, and then if you add another, you get, what is that, 720 gas for 3 base. But still, we're talking about a lot of gas there. You can also you can also look at it in terms of Stalkers. For every 1 Colossus I kill 4 Stalkers worth of gas. That's another great way that you can look at it. That's a lot of gas that you could be removing from the field, and it empowers not only your roaches during the fights, but it empowers your Broodlords as well, because now you have less anti-air to deal with. The Stalker count is a lot lighter.
Yeah, and I think Killer, he was just getting caught a little bit too much. You can see that his Broodlords, half the battle were running away from the Stalkers, and that's when you get caught like that. You can't afford to give it out. I would like to see him try to see if he can hold out a little bit more, because even taking that 1 expansion, it's 7,000 minerals less. So if he could really play the economy game and play defensive, because he just had to sit back and remax, but unfortunately he kept trying to engage with smaller amounts of units and kept losing ground, and at one point Todd's advantage was just too much. And overall, Todd took a very strong game, was able to really capitalize on Killer's mistakes.